Hi, Pat Battle here with Living Web Farms for the next installment of our Resilience Daily series, which we're doing in collaboration with the Organic Grower School. And today we're going to do a check-in. For several other videos, we've shown you our propagation of elderberries. If you remember the story, Jeremy Greist, who is the anchor for this farm right here at Mills River Educational Farm, affectionately known as Mr. Ed, has planted a bunch of elderberries on his property and has taken to heart the knowledge that I passed on from the man who gave us these original cultivar cuttings, which is to cut them to the ground every year. When you do that, they shoot up new growth and they make large umbels. You see the size of this umbel. It's not all that big, you know. If you cut them to the ground, the umbels will be like this. It just makes harvesting a lot faster because you can just come by and pick whole clusters. And you don't have to go picking from many different umbels. And the other advantage is it gives you all this reproductive material. Now Jeremy did that and stuck a whole bunch in soil, but just didn't think we needed any more. And when I found he hadn't done all of them, I went back and got them and stuck a whole bunch more, which you saw. We showed them to you in pots like this. And this was the last batch I got to. And it had been a little too long. You can see that not very many of them. And indeed, there's a volunteer turmeric in here too, by the way. How that happened, I don't know, but it's in there. But there's maybe 6 or 7. The other ones all had probably 40% take. And we're going to leave these for a while because they just might be slow. They might still come on. But what we did with the rest was we pulled this whole clump out of the pot, which I don't want to do right now because I don't want to disturb these, and then carefully teased apart all the roots that were in between using lots of water and then potted them up individually. And we'll take a quick look now and see what the production was. So there's well over 100 here. I'm not sure how many total, but a lot of elderberry plants. And these all came from those cuttings that actually laid in Jeremy's yard for at least a week before I got to them. You know, you can tell they're still going to work if when you scrape the bark, you see the green pythium underneath. Okay, so there's that green layer underneath. If it's still green, they're going to root. And these have rooted and they're leafed out, and we should have them ready for our major stream restoration come the fall. Okay, so that's the story of elderberry propagation, and it's probably the end of the story. One last thing to focus on is the flower here, because we did a video about the flower, and we showed you the flower in this stage so you can know to look for it. And now it's almost all open, and that's the stage you would use it for the cordials or dry it for an herb. You know, it is highly recommended as a relief for one of the phases of coronavirus as a dried flower made into a tea. And if you look up Stephen Harrod Booner COVID-19, you'll find his latest paper on that, and he'll give you the instructions on how to do that. All right, so we also want to talk about sweet potatoes right now. Let's head back to the table and show you a last resort solution to not having acted ahead of time or not having gotten enough sweet potato plants. In our case, it was not having gotten enough. We're going to set this guy down for now and look at some sweet potatoes. So this is a bunch of sweet potatoes that we got from a fellow grower that they weren't going to use, and these are slips that they bought from a nursery, and they're needing to go in the ground, but actually they look worse than they are actually. Their sweet potato vine is incredibly resilient. I want to find one that's actually rooting so I can show you that happens. It's nice to change the water. It gets a little rotty when they're sitting here waiting. But yeah, so is that going to show up? Can you actually capture those little roots right there? Mm-hmm. Okay. That if we don't get to this till Friday, which is what we're talking about, there'll probably be several roots coming out of this. It wouldn't matter if there were no roots. You stick this vine in the ground, firm the ground well. These leaves may wilt even because they can't get enough water, but within a matter of less than a week, there'll be new leaves coming up. And so that's how you plant them. Now, we bought these. These cost, I think, like $120 for 1,000. But if you have a patch in a neighbor's yard that's already growing and abundant, and they'll let you come take cuttings, let's go ahead and show what I mean by that. Right over here, Jeremy just puts a couple of sweet potatoes early in the season in a pot, because we heat this greenhouse, we keep it above 50 once we're starting seedlings, and they root. And so right now, if we needed these, we could come through and break off probably thousands, at least hundreds of sweet potato plants. And we would just stick these in water. I'd probably break off that lower leaf and just stick these in water, and within a week we could put them out. Or if we were in a hurry, we could just put them out like this. I'd probably take off a lot of the leaf if I was doing that, because you know it's going to wilt anyway. Why make the plant suffer? I'd probably take it down to just the smaller leaves and make a couple leaves small by pruning them way back. But you can stick these in the ground and they will grow, guaranteed, as long as you keep the water to them. If they get really dry, they'll die eventually. But if you keep the water to them, you can get your sweet potato plants from any neighbor's patch. That's, you know, a lot of people get them in by the middle of May or the end of May. There's going to be a lot of vine out there now, and as long as they're the generous sort, which most gardeners are, they'll let you come through and judiciously take a few cuttings from here and there, and you can get a reasonable patch going for a backyard garden. You're probably not going to, you know, manage to plant a farm's worth of sweet potatoes doing this, but it is a way to stay in the game if you can't source local slips, which are probably still available, but they won't be for much longer. And you can actually get these in the ground as late as the end of June, or even very, very early July, like the first day or two of July, and you'll still get a crop in most years. And the thing to remember, folks, I just threw those leaves on the ground. They're high protein, full of vitamins, including vitamin A, and very succulent and delicious to eat. Don't go eating a lot of leaves on the ones you're growing for roots, but you could actually put a few in for greens too. So that's it for this installment, and remember to check us out on Instagram at Living Web Farms.